Well, that killing is drawing unexpected reaction on social media. Many people expressing support for the shooter. As Fox 11's Gina Silva reports, this has everything to do with the high cost of health care.
Nobody deserves to get on their way to work. Nobody deserves to get their health care claims denied either.
All over social media, people are posting how they feel about the victim.
Someone said thoughts and prayers and deductibles.
And the shooter in the United Healthcare murder case.
The assassin was super impressive, okay? We've never seen anything like this.
The high-profile killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson has sparked discussions about healthcare policies, corporate practices, and economic frustrations.
United Healthcare, by a 90% margin, denied more claims than any other insurance company on the market.
Deny, depose, defend. If that isn't a loud, clear message to all these CEOs across the board of these health insurance companies, I don't know what is.
We feel like we're living parallel lives with the elite in our country.
I just want to remind everyone that the snitches get the stitches, and the stitches might not be covered by your insurance plan.
You can have a claim and it's not going to be covered.
Psychologist David Swanson finds some social media posts insensitive, but sees them as mere frustration and a form of venting.
I certainly don't think that these people are glorifying murder or agree with murder, but I think what this is it really kind of speaks to how frustrated people are. Things are so incredibly expensive, and health insurance by itself is ridiculously expensive, and you throw in the fact that when you try to use it, it's nearly impossible to use.
I don't think he did it. But you know what? Even if he did do it, you know what I mean?
Hey everybody, welcome to MINISCOPE. MINISCOPE. Unlike the MINISCOPE brand, which focuses on getting the points of views and scopes of just different ideas, points of views, philosophies, and people, MINISCOPE is different. it's just me talking. Not a lot of stats, not all of that. Just talking about topics and whatever ethos or pathos I have toward a particular idea. That's the politically correct way of saying what they say is listen and don't judge. Yeah, I judge over here. And the topic this week, it was really hard to watch that clip that it was just played for me. Celebrating the assassination of anyone. Wow. Especially in such a charged way for something that I don't think he even represented. And to be honest, I don't think the celebrating is even to the degree or the reason that people are saying. So yeah, long story short, the CEO of United Healthcare was shot on his way to a meeting for the company last week. The person that did it was just caught about 2 or 3 days ago. That guy. Yeah, I don't want to get into too much detail on the situation. Honestly, I've read it. I know some details. What I do know is that United Healthcare makes about $562 billion in revenue, and the CEO was sitting at about $43 million. So even the idea of him being a representation of the fat cats, because the top earning CEOs in the country range between $250 million to $1 to $2 billion. So that's the Elon Musk and so on. But I've always been confused about something, and you all can correct me if I'm tripping. So United Healthcare provides a product in general that people use, hence the $562 billion. People buy it, and again, it is terrible that claims get knocked down or rejected for various reasons. From what I looked up, it had to do a lot with coding or paperwork that wasn't done, or just a lot of small print that is honestly not fair to the American people, and we know that. So the rage or the pathos of the rage is, to me, is justified, but not to the point of killing someone. But long story short, if somebody is buying a product and the product happens to sell, how do you have rage toward the people that's selling it that you're buying from? I actually have the same idea with Amazon. It's like, oh, Jeff Bezos, rah, rah, rah. But I'm like, everybody I know not only uses Amazon, but gets angry when their stuff don't come in 2 days. So I'm like, you're giving him your money, and you're mad at him for having money, the money that you're spending toward him and his company. And I'm like, okay, so there was a stat going around saying that United Healthcare rejects 90% more claims than all the other insurance companies. I'm like, well, stop. Why aren't people going to the other insurance companies? Again, this could be my lack of knowledge or understanding, but look, I'm confused with the gap between I don't like your policies and your company and I'm glad you're dead. So it almost seems like what's going on is a major case of what's called transference, meaning that experiences and bad ideas and hurt and trauma is transferred to a figure that we make a representative for that said trauma. In this case, it was Brian Thompson. A man that we didn't even know his name or existed until he was unalived. I guess what scares me, and the first thing I thought about honestly when I heard this is, what ideas or philosophies or lifestyle do I possess that people would celebrate my assassination? And I mean, this isn't new. We saw this, a few years ago with Kevin Samuels, where the alleged relationship guru / image consultant who set fire to the internet with quippy comments and very judgmental standpoints on dating and men and women. And the celebration and joy that some people shared when he died, to me, was disgusting. Because again, why are we celebrating somebody with not only a difference in opinion, but somebody that you took time to watch when you could have just kept scrolling and listening to someone else? It's like, I took time to listen to you, and because I didn't like what you said, I wish you were dead. And when you did die, I celebrated it. That's some scary stuff. A huge portion of the rage comes from the climate that we're in this country as a whole when it comes to people who are rich and people who are white men that are rich. I think white men, especially after the election and the Trump win, have been put on this platform of being villains now. And the assassination of Brian Thompson almost feels like a vendetta has been paid. And that's the dark part I think people don't really want to say. It's like, I did a recording a few weeks ago on the black male vote and the emotions of the election. And you had a lot of people, we're not going to sleep with men, and 4B movement, and all of that. I'm like, all of this towards the results of the election. Whatever side you're on, there was this strong emotional charge to the point where people were honestly and truly, they said, drained and depressed and felt oppressed. And then less than a month later, a big CEO gets killed, and people are literally, as you saw in the video, celebrating, making funny jokes, and some of the jokes were actually funny and clever, but cold. And again, I say, what scares me the most is everybody has the opinions and ideas that oppose somebody else next to them. And at what point is it okay to celebrate the death of somebody based on a lifestyle or idea? I think it's very contradictory that the same way we voice being oppressed, if given the power and the opportunity, not only will we do the same, people are expressing, we will have glee in you being honest inside of all of this that's not being addressed. Because my philosophy is, if that is inside of you, even if you never express it, it's the fact that there is a portion of your being that would be happy to see somebody die because in your mind, they're a villain. And to be honest, we don't know anything about Brian. All I know is he had some older kids, he was married, and he made $43 million. If you have more information about him, if you kicked it with him, if he was a bad person, hey, but I didn't know the man. Did he push any policies that would cause contention amongst people? And he had two. One policy had to do with charging people a penalty if emergencies were not deemed actual emergencies. So if you go to emergency or urgent care and it's for, let's say, a sore toe, they could charge you a penalty. I don't know if that's enough to assassinate somebody for, but that was one of them. And he had a few ideas in the last, because he's only been in the position, if I recall, for like 5 years or 4 years. He's been with the company since 2004, but he's been CEO since I think like 2020 or 2021. But dog, it's and I understand it. What bothers me, and I guess what scares me, is there's a difference between aggression behind the keyboard, which a lot of people express, and I've seen it with my own eyes. People that talk crazy online, but you see them in person, they all timid, and I'm like, this punk right here, like. Names. Shut up, Steven. Anyways, it's like, but to actually have in your spirit that you would like to see somebody be shot or feel that, well, it's justified because, well, insurances but we buy insurance. Again, if you are giving money to a company and the company has representatives that benefit from the money that you're paying, how do you hate the people making the money that you're giving them? And I'm like, yeah, this one was a little creepy. Somebody on their way to work getting shot, like that's where we at now. And the sad part is, if this said person was a part of our own clan or ideas or beliefs, we would be very sad and upset and enraged. And there are many, many examples of that, especially in the last decade. But this man's life is less valuable because of the place that he worked at. I find it kind of crazy that we're able to detach humanity from things that we deem against us. But us isn't really a collective, because all of us possess some idea or some notion or some faculty that doesn't match up with somebody else that we share a space with. This is something on a side note that really has always bothered me, and this may offend some people. That's what's up, come see me. But, and I'm serious, but if, it's like, I'll never forget when I worked at Jewel Osco in high school, and I refused to scan cigarettes. And that was just my belief system. I refused to scan cigarettes. And I remember my boss, Wes Dalton, he said, I noticed you never scan cigarettes for people. He said, well, you do realize that a lot of the companies that you do buy food, like you buy food, and you do know they support the companies that you don't scan cigarettes for. And I looked into what he said and I said, doggone it, he's absolutely right. But